Uh-oh, you are now listening to
D, the delinquent.
On the podcast.
This is Many Hats, No Cap, baby.
D, the delinquent. Many hats, no cap.
Welcome to Many Hats, No Cap with Delinquent. Yo, I made a woman cry once. A couple times in my life, but this specific time that I'm gonna share with y'all made me feel bad. Hella bad. So bad, I had to quit my job and leave that motherfucker. That's when I was a manager and a Meineke. I was the manager and a service advisor. They didn't let me hire a service advisor as I was a manager. They wanted me to play both roles, which was effed up, but I'll get into that. But before I get into that story, I just want to say shout out to all my service advisors all over the world. And also shout out to the techs, the lot techs, parts associates, the sales team, the finance team, owners, yada, 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 in all dealerships in all industries, motorcycles, cars, RVs, watercraft, etc., etc. Because I know firsthand how hard that job can be. Hell, you gotta have thick skin to do what the hell I do, to do what the hell we do. You really do. But if you're looking for some life-changing money, you're out there, you don't know what you're doing, what your next move is, get into sales. Get into being a parts associate or get into service writing. It's life-changing, or it's at least more consistent money. But it is a commission-based job. And like I said, you gotta have thick skin and you gotta have that money chasing dog in you. It takes a certain animal to do what we do. But I gotta be honest, I fucking love it. Anyway, shout out to all y'all out there. So, I'm gonna get into my story. So I was managing a Meineke. It was called Meineke / Econolube. It was a franchise-owned thing. And they were advertising a $9.99 oil change. People from all over the city would drive down to the shop and get that $9.99 oil change. Great marketing, getting people in the door. But the problem was, they don't want a $9.99 average sales ticket, an average repair order. They want to bring that up to $50, $80. So they really pushed this to upsell, upsell, upsell. So I'd have to get on my tech's asses to come at me with awesome recommendations. Air filters, cabin filters, brake pads, brake flushes, power steering flushes, windshield wipers, yada, yada, yada. You know how it is when you go to a quick lube spot and you just want an oil change and they're coming at you with all these recommendations? You know how it is. So I had to do just that. And I had some awesome techs. Some were dumber than others, but some were awesome. The dumbest one that I had to deal with was a female. Great attitude, great personality, but damn, she was dumb as rocks. Brand new fucking SRT, I think it was like a Chrysler 300 or something. We did an oil change on it. Well, she forgot to put oil in that motherfucker. We sent it off and it broke down the freeway. It ended up being like a $12,000 thing. Yeah, one of them. But anyway, so as I was managing this spot, corporate reached out to me and they said, yo, you're doing great on the repair order averages. You're getting about $75 a ticket. Bring it up to 80. If you bring it up to 80, we're going to give you a $5,000 bonus. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to bring that motherfucker up to 80, 90, 100. I'm an animal. I got that dog in me. So I'm doing what I do. I'm just upselling. I didn't take no for an answer until this lady came in with a van. It was an old school Astro van. Awesome van. I've always wanted one. I always wanted one to put Dayton's on it, put a whole bunch of speakers in that shit and just, cruise around. Be bad. But lady pulls up in a van. She just wants the $9.99 oil change. She gets down from her van. We pull it up, do our thing. She's sitting in the lobby, just waiting patiently, being nice. But something was off about this one. Something was off. She just had that face where her world was just heavy. Tech comes to me, gives me his paper, the list of recommendations, and it was bad, son. There was a whole bunch of recommendations. Fucking head gasket leaking, Exhaust, half of the exhaust is missing. All brake pads are shot metal to metal. It's just, I can't tell you how much. It was a whole grocery list of recommendations that this tech made. And even the tech looked at me and he shook his head like, bro, in this van is actually not safe to drive. Let me show you something. I said, all right, I'll go outside. We go into the bay. We're looking underneath the van and boom, the frame's cracked. It's fucked up. I go, all right, this is the last repair order of the month. I'm literally like $65 away from reaching my goal. She's just there for the $9.99 oil change. I put together a quick repair estimate. It's getting out of hand. It was getting close to almost $5,000 worth of the stuff that she needed to get, minus the frame swap. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna try to get what I can. I built this estimate. I call her over to my desk. I go over it with her. And then she just starts crying. I go, everything all right? And she goes, oh, I'm okay. Can you show me so I can show my son? All right, so I figure I'm going to show her. She's going to take pictures and send them to her son. I take her to the bay. I show her everything that the tech pointed out. She's taking pictures, like I thought she would, and she's sending them to her son. Her son then calls, and they're talking to each other in Spanish. She puts him on speakerphone, and the son says, can you do just enough to where she'll make it safely to San Antonio? San Antonio is about 12 hours away from Tucson. I said, yeah, man, maybe brake pads, a brake flush, and I don't know. What else do you want done to this? And he says, just do maybe the rear brake pads and just top off the fluids. Is that okay? They're really pinching pennies. I said, all right, man, but I got to point this out to you too, bro. I got to let you know that the frame is cracked and all this stuff. And as I'm talking to her son with her next to us, and, we're on speakerphone, she's crying more and more and more. So we agree that we're just going to do the rear brake pads and do the oil change and send her on her way and top off the fluids. She goes back to the waiting area. She's chilling. We get the job done. She comes up to the counter. She digs into her purse and she's pulling out nickels and dimes. Her total was like $71.50, something like that. I don't remember the exact total, but it was a little up there. And this was also, almost 20 years ago. So she's pulling out nickels, dimes, all this stuff, but she was short $24, something like that. And she's just crying and crying, but she's not telling me what's going on. So then I finally get it out of her. What's going on? Pretty much her husband died 2 days before this oil change took place. She needed to get the oil change so she can go to San Antonio, get with her kids. Her kids were going to do some planning around, make some funeral arrangements and all that. They were going to sell some furniture, sell some personal belongings, get enough money to come back to Tucson and bury their father. I'm feeling bad, like, oh, damn. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't think it was that deep. So anyway, she's only short $24, so I was like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I'll cover it. Because I'm going to get this $5,000 bonus, you feel me? But anyway, I pull out $24. I cover the balance. She says, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. She hops in the van. She's about to take off. As she's at the stop sign, ready to hit the road, we're closing up now. It's the end of the day, 6 o'clock. We're closing up shop. Time to go home. One of my techs closes the bay door, the first one. We had 3 big bay doors. He closes the first bay door. Halfway shutting the second bay door, we see her car just make this crazy loud sound. Boom! Smoke everywhere. Coming out from underneath the van, coming out the hood. It's smoking bad. Fucking motor just blew up. Her motor just blew up, locked up. We go out there to see what's going on. Tech confirms, yeah, the motor just seized. Fucking blew up. It's nothing we did. It was literally going to happen. it was good that it happened there instead of it happening to her while she's, in the middle of nowhere in the desert in Texas. If you drove through Texas, you know how that is. When you're in a city, you're in a city. But when you're outside the city driving, you are alone, son. There's nothing to see. There's nothing around. There's no mountains. There's nothing, just dirt. Maybe some cactus. That's it. She comes back to the shop. Techs are upset because they want to go home. But I feel for her. The techs didn't exactly know that she was dealing with, her husband passing and everything. They just knew that she didn't have a lot of money and she only approved rear brake pads and the oil change. So I'm talking to her, working with her. One of the techs named Anthony, he says, yo, what does she have to do? Where does she have to go? I said, she has to go to San Antonio. Oh, man. And I said, you know what, bro? I'm going to tell you something. And this is right in front of this woman. I told him the truth. I said, bro, her husband just passed. She needs to go out to San Antonio and get with her kids. They need to do some things and get enough money to come back and bury him. Anthony was a cool dude. Anthony says, fuck it, I'll take her. I go, what? He says, yeah, I will take her to San Antonio. Damn, all right, cool, bro. Awesome. They arrange, they do their thing, whatever. He takes off, takes her to San Antonio. It's a 12-hour drive. Now, the next day, we were closed, but we're open back up on Monday. The next day, he calls me. Bro, I got some bad news. I go, what? I'm stuck in this small-ass city. Something crazy happened to my car, and not the motor or nothing like that, but I need to get this new part or whatever, some sensor or whatever that went out on him. I said, all right. And he goes, but it's not going to be here till tomorrow afternoon, so I might miss work tomorrow. I go, Mike, you are going to miss work tomorrow. That's cool. Don't worry about it. All right, cool. Monday comes, he misses work, of course. He gets the part done. He makes it back home like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. He calls me, just letting me know that he got home safely. I said, you know what, bro, you did such a nice thing. Don't worry about coming in tomorrow, which was Tuesday. And he says, all right, I appreciate that. I said, no, man, you're cool, man. You're a good dude. Well, the next day, I got a visit from corporate and also the franchise owner. They're coming down and they're like, looks like you're short techs. And I go, yeah. Anthony, yada, yada, yada. He took this lady to San Antonio. In fact, her van is in our parking lot, blah, blah, blah. I'm giving him the whole rundown. This motherfucker says, the corporate dude, he says, I don't want that piece of shit in our parking lot. I go, well, I mean, we just give her a couple days, maybe a week, and I'm sure she'll take care of it. Nah, I'm getting that towed right now. He was on the phone in 5 minutes talking to a tow company to get it towed. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Then the franchise owner tells me, and about Anthony missing work. I go, bro, he literally took this woman there. Well, he should be back by now. I go, no. He had a problem with his car, like I said. He got home late last night, and I told him to take today off. Nah. He's had way too many days off. Yada, yada, yada. I'm tired of it. You need to fire him. You need to get rid of him. And then I finally said something. I finally stood up to them, and I said, no. Excuse me? No, I'm not going to get rid of him. I'm not going to fire him. And the franchise owner says, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And if I do it, it's going to be ugly. I'm going to do it in front of everybody. I'm going to make him take his toolbox out of here right then and there. And if he can't do it right then and there, I'm going to push this shit out to the sidewalk. And he was serious. He meant business. So then they break down the numbers. We're going through the whole like profits and everything. And they say, well, you didn't qualify for the $5,000 bonus. Instead, you qualified for $1,500, which was fucking bullshit. But you know how corporate goes, how the corporate world goes. They tell me they're going to give me $1,500 on my check, which is also going to be taxed. So it's not really going to be $1,500 anyway. And I'm pissed because I'm still thinking about how's Wednesday going to look? What's tomorrow going to be like? So, you know, we finished the day, but it was bothering me all fucking day. Corporate guys and the franchise guy, they're just walking around, you know, taking notes about the building and what needs to be done, yada, yada, yada. So the next day comes. We're hitting it. Getting back to work and everything. Anthony pulls up. I immediately go to Anthony and I tell him, hey, bro, this is what happened, yada, yada, yada. He's freaking out, right? Because he got kids. He depends on this job. And he tells me, bro, you told me to take off yesterday. I said, I know I did, bro. And I tried telling them the reason why you're not here is because I told you to take the day off, but they're still flipping about other days that you took off in the past. He took a lot of days off, but he has kids, and one of his kids kept getting sick. He's cool now, but when he was a toddler, he kept getting sick for some reason. So anyway, franchise guy and the corporate guy, they're not around. I'm like, all right, cool. We finished that day smooth. Weeks go by. I haven't seen the corporate guy or the franchise guy, and they haven't said anything. Keep in mind, I've been talking to them on and off during this time period, and they haven't said shit about shit. They haven't said anything about me firing, having to get rid of Anthony at all. So I'm thinking they moved on. They forgot about it. We're cool. We're hitting our numbers. We're making money. Customers are happy. Techs are happy. Everybody's happy. Everybody's winning. Well then, right before the holidays, right before Christmas, franchisee shows up, sitting down in regular sweatpants and an old shirt. And I go, what's up? And he goes, I need to talk to Anthony. You know what this is about. This is like 2 months later. I said, what's this about? Anthony hasn't missed a day. He goes, you know what this is about? And I said that. I said, bro, that was 2 months ago and Anthony hasn't missed a day. I don't care. I need to get rid of him. It was clear that he needed all of us together, knocking shit out until the end of the year. It's right before Christmas. It's right before the end of the year. We've hit our numbers, hit our quota. He made a lot of money. He wants to get rid of Anthony. I guess maybe in preparation for next year, he don't want to deal with all the call outs, or he just has a fucking grudge, or he's just a fucking bitch. I think that one. But anyway, he waits till we're all getting ready to pack up. I said, fuck this. I go to the bay and I tell Anthony, hey bro, so-and-so's here because they're going to get rid of you right now. Anthony says, what? I have kids, bro. What the fuck am I going to do? This is bullshit. I said, I know. So I'm just letting you know beforehand. I'm not even supposed to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you because this is some bullshit. And then he says, well, fuck that. I quit then. I'm not going to let him fire me. I quit. He hops in his car. He doesn't help us close up and he just leaves. I go back to the lobby. Franchisee says, did you tell him? I said, yeah, I told him that you were going to fire him. He goes, well, he left. I said, yeah, he quit. Good. He gets up, puts his keys in his pocket, chugs his empty coffee cup in the trash can, and he's about to leave. Well, right before he leaves, a car pulls up. It was like a black RAV4 or something like that. Car pulls up, people get down, and one of those people was the lady that owned the van. She walks up to the door. I greet her. She even gave me a hug, expressing her just how grateful she was that we were able to get her to San Antonio. And she was apologizing about how long it took her to get back down to pick up her van. She doesn't know that her van is not there. I didn't have a way to contact her. She didn't give us her phone number, nothing. I didn't have her address, nothing. And on the van, there wasn't a license plate. There wasn't any info in the van. It was just, so the van's gone. Talking to the lady, and I tell her, well, the company made us tow it. To be honest with you, I don't know what tow company it's with. Let me go ask this guy who he called. Oh, he's the one that called? I go, yeah, he's the one that called the tow company. I'm like, fuck him, you know? So she goes up to him. I'm thinking she's going to fight or something. She goes up to him and she tells him, please get my van back. It belonged to my husband. I need that van back. I know it's really messed up, but we want to keep it in his memory. He loved that van, yada, yada, yada. This dude says, nope, I don't care. And he's trying to walk out, trying to leave. And I seen how he treated her. Damn, that shit just bothered me. So she's begging him, please just tell me the name of the company you called. All he had to do was just look in his phone book, see who he dialed. But no, he didn't want to do any of that. Instead, he's just walking to his car. She's following him. It was horrible. He got in his car, reversed, took off. Now it's just me and her peoples. The techs are packing up. They're ready to leave. She walks up to me again and she tells me, I really need that van. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I said, ma'am, I would call every tow yard in town and figure out where that van is. Hopefully they still have it and you can get it back. I don't know how else to help you. And then she cried again. The first time she cried when I met her, that bothered me, but it didn't bother me as much as it did that time. And that was it. She got back in that RAV4 with her peoples. I locked up the store and I put the keys, my shop keys, under a rock. Sent a text to the homie Nick, who was a traveling GM at the time. And I let him know, yo, this job ain't for me. He called me right away. Meet me in my hotel. I'm at the Best Western, yada, yada, yada. I drove down the street, met him at the Best Western, and I told him everything that was going on, everything that happened. And he got it. He understood. I remember he told me this at the bar. He said, bro, what we do takes a fucking animal to do it right. That always stuck with me because it does. But then he said, but animals also feel.
Many hats, no cap.